Hello, and welcome to the Fan Fiction Book Club podcast, a weekly podcast that explores the good, the bad, and the cringy of fan fiction. Hosted by me, SG, and my lovely co-hosts, Poppy.
Hi.
Ollie.
Hi.
And Tstan.
Hello.
Every month, we scour the internet to bring you 4 different fanfic reads, and our theme this month is Twilight. Check out our website at fanfictionbookclub.com or follow us on Twitter and Instagram at fanfictionados for the full lineup of stories for the month and to connect with us on the web. So, the fanfiction we are discussing this week is A Pirate's Life for Me by Frankie Quinn 13 on, and I'm sure you've guessed it because it's my favorite place to go to, Archive of Our Own. This work was written back in 2016 in September, and the word count is 16K. So just a couple more specs on this story. So it's rated M for mature, but it's not that mature. Categories: male on male romance, fandom Twilight, of course, relationships: Edward : Jacob Black, Edward : Bella Swan, Emmett : Embry Cole, Jasper Hale, Seth Clearwater, Polioto, Dimitri, Eric, Gorky, Felix, Carlisle : Esme : additional tags: alternate universe pirates, of course, Victorian, Alpha Jacob, Teen Edward, supernatural elements, magic, vampires, and werewolves. So, yeah. And I'm interested to see the comments. I see there's 14 of them, so let's see what the people have to say. But we'll save that till the end. Yeah. And then the summary for this story is, werewolves? Edward said with a snort as he looked up at his brother, shaking his head as the blonde's grin only seemed to grow at his disbelief before he reached down to pick up his mug of wine. That's ridiculous. You don't believe me, brother? Of course not, Edward said as he took a sip of the deep red liquid. What kind of idiot would believe a story like that? Jasper just rolled his eyes as he drank from his own mug. The same kind that believes in ghosts, no more than 4 years ago. So, and then the author wrote some author notes that I think should be included. Did you guys read the author notes?
Yes.
Which is like the best gold of this story. So the author notes, this is the mind of Frankie Quinn 13 in a nutshell. So what happened was I was reading some Will Jack Pirates of the Caribbean fan fiction, which I've never even thought to look that up. Yeah. I didn't know that was a thing. But for anyone who wants to, please do and tell us about it. Is it worth it? I don't know.
Should that be one of our categories? Should
that be something that we cover in the future?
Oh, God.
I'm very curious. Will Jack Pirates of the Caribbean fanfiction. And I started thinking about the whole religious idea on homosexuality thing. You know, man shalt not lie with another man as you do with a woman, or whatever it says. Because that was a big deal back in those times, right? Or at least a little bit more of a bigger deal than it is now. And I don't know, this happened. Honestly, I just really wanted to make Jacob say the line, I'm surrounded by sodomites. So I guess you could say I fanfic prompted myself. Whatever. I'm hoping that no one gets confused, because I tried to make it as clear as possible. Apologies for spelling, grammar, and OOC-ness. Mature Alpha Jacob meets not so mature, less confident Edward. Oh yeah, in the second half of the story, Edward and Jacob are more or less the same height. And before you ask, because I know someone is going to ask, no, Edward is still not the bottom in this one either. It doesn't really matter though, since they don't do much anyway, but just so you know that I wasn't in that mindset when I wrote this. Honestly, I was just focused on the story. Disclaimer, I do not own Twilight or any of its characters.
Lovely disclaimers.
Disclaimers.
Those of you who aren't aware, OOC means out of character.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll have a lot to discuss with that.
Holy crap.
Yeah, we'll get into it later. I was like, oh, maybe we should start there. But no. So essentially, as the title suggests, the story A Pirate's Life for me is about pirates. But because Twilight is involved, there are werewolf pirates and vampire pirates. But unfortunately, you don't really see anyone do any piratey things.
Yeah, I was pretty disappointed about that, actually.
Yeah, I was kind of disappointed about that too. I thought we'd actually like get on a ship. So disclaimer, this entire story takes place on land. So if you thought this would be more Pirates of the Caribbean-y, it isn't.
Sadly.
Yeah, only in setting. In terms of setting.
Only in terms of they are pirates.
They are pirates are. Okay, so the story starts out with 3 brothers who are sons of, what do they call them? Boop-a-doop-boop-boop. Or maybe they don't get into it till later. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh, the Dukes of Port Angeles. So,
which, like,
I like that they kept Port Angeles. Like, you could have done anything with that.
You know, I'm like, the Dukes of Port Angeles. For those of you who don't know, we're all from Washington State. So the fact that
of all the ports, why not the Dukes of Seattle?
Wouldn't it be the Dukes of Forks? Because that's where they lived in Twilight. But no, it's Port Angeles, and it's just, I don't know, it's just so funny.
I think they did that because there's water there. So it's like, oh, pirates would be here because there's water on the edge of Port Angeles. Yes. I think that was the reasoning.
The biggest major port in Washington State, or in the Northwest at all. Port Angeles.
Yeah, that's it. Not the Port of Seattle.
Or,
that's where all the cargo ships go in, right? Don't they all go to Port Angeles and then they take smaller ships? They take little tugboats over to Seattle to
that's
to get on the trains.
You're being sarcastic. Seattle is the biggest port.
How far did we get into describing the story? So chapter 1, the Duke of Port Angeles, there's only 2 chapters. I feel like it should have just been, I guess it makes sense. So part 1 of the story, the Dukes of Port Angeles, so the story opens up with Emmett, who is a young boy in this scenario. Just so you're all aware, Emmett is one of the vampires related to Edward in the Cullen family. He's one of the sons.
They're all human in this story.
But not everyone's human.
All the Cullens are human in this story.
All the Cullens are human in this story. So the story starts out with a young human Emmett, and he doesn't like to follow the rules. He likes to do his own thing. And so he'll go out adventuring at the docks and the piers and going to all these rough and tumble places that a young duke should not be going to. And so while he's on one of these adventures late at night, he happens upon this encounter between these people, between these 2 groups of people, and one of the guys has a baby in his arms. And you kind of figure out through Emmett listening to conversation that these guys are pirates, and the baby is a baby that they're protecting and trying to get to this lady Sue's tavern. And so these guys are coming after these people with the baby. Find out the guy with the baby is Jacob Black, and he's a pirate. So they're coming after Jacob, and Jacob realizes that Emmett is watching them, and he's like, "Hey man, what are you doing?" And the kid's like, "Oh, I'm just a kid, I'm just kind of here." And he's like, "Okay, well, you shouldn't be here." It's duh. And then he's like, "Hey, can you take this baby to this chick named Sue?" And he's like, "Okay, yeah, I'll take it to Sue. I know where her tavern is." And he's like, "Great." And then they just kind of end the intro scene there. And then you move forward so many years. I think he's like, do you guys think he's like 12 or something here?
I
think so.
He's younger.
I just want to add,
11.
Yeah.
There's a man with
Yeah.
a baby.
Yeah.
Finds a child in an alleyway and says, "Hey, kid, you should be at home." "Nah, I don't feel like it." "Okay, take my baby."
I mean, a little bit more than that happened, but if you just like boil it down, that's essentially how the conversation went. This was a 16 case story, so I'm trying to like keep this intro short because there's so much that we can talk about.
It says in the fic that Emmett is 10 right now.
Okay, he's 10 right now. Okay. So he's a youngin'. And so he takes in this baby and he's like drawn to it. And for people who and for people who don't know about the Twilight series, and if you know anything about Jacob, you know Jacob is a werewolf, and something that werewolves do is they imprint on people, and that's like their life mate. And so this imprinting can happen at any point in the werewolf's life. And so that little nod was like a hint to the fact that Embry imprinted on Emmett. And so when these two individuals find each other, they're just like in love with each other. But the love doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. Like if it's a kid and they're growing up, it can just be like a familial love or a friendship love. And then once they come of age, it evolves into love. And these are not my explanations. This is what Stephanie Meyer says in her books to make it okay. Because either way, it seems weird to me. But that's kind of what's happening. So he has this connection with this baby. He takes the baby to Sue. So then fast forward some odd years, Emmett is grown up, and him and Embry, and so this is all like, they don't describe this fast forwarding some odd years. It just happens. So you don't see any like development of their relationship. The story just pushes forward. And then the story picks up where Emmett's two brothers, Edward and Jasper, are in a bar and they're just kind of talking. And you find out through their conversation that they're covering for Emmett. And you find out that Emmett and Embry are, would you guess it, a thing at this point in the story. And because this is an old pirate tale, homosexuality was not as accepted as it is now, so it had to be a hidden thing. So Edward and Jasper were just at the bar hanging out, covering for Emmett. And then this kid comes in, who you find out is Seth, which is another character from Twilight. He's a werewolf boy. Seth starts chatting up Jasper and is like flirting with him. So then Seth and Jasper, they just like drink together and Edward's there. And then at some point, Jacob walks in, Pirate Jacob. And because everyone needs to be paired off, Emmett has Embry, Jasper has the Seth guy. And now Jacob and Edward have their encounter. I need to like go to where this is in the story. Were there any good like quote bits from that area that we can read?
Oh my god. All right.
Okay. So here's a little passage of Jacob putting his moves on Edward. Okay. And then so this is a point where like Jacob and Edward, so Jacob's coming into the tavern, he sees Edward and Jasper, and then he kind of zeroes in on Edward after telling Seth, the guy like flirting with Jasper, like, hey man, don't use like any special abilities on this guy, like get him with your personality. I don't know. Good tip for people. So then Jacob comes in. The bronze-haired teen lifted a hand and put it in Jacob's for a good firm shake before he pulled away. Edward Cullen. Cullen, Jacob said in an amused smile. Do all of you enjoy hanging around dangerous places? What? Well, your brother. The last time I saw him, he was slinking around dark alleys in the middle of the night, Jacob said with a smile. And now you're drinking wine in a tavern filled with pirates and thieves. Are all the Cullens this adventurous? Edward felt himself start to blush at the smile on Jacob's face, and he had to quickly look away before he answered. I'm just doing Emmett a favor. What kind of favor? Edward paused. The complicated kind. Dun dun dun. So, pretty much in that scene, the level of flirtiness there is what you kind of see throughout the whole story between Edward and Jacob. But, essentially they're talking. They find out, or Jacob finds out that he's a Cullen, and Emmett's a Cullen, and Emmett is the kid who brought, who took in Embry and took him to Sue so that he could be raised in this, in Port Angeles. From there, you discover that the reason that Jacob is back in town is because he wants to take his brother Embry, the one that was the baby from the beginning of the story. He wants to take him and have him join their pirate ship and become a pirate with them. And then plot twist that we all saw coming, Embry's a werewolf. So that's another reason that he needs to go on the ship, because he needs to learn how to control his werewolf nature, because his change is going to happen anytime now. So that's like the reason that Jacob is there. And then he's talking to Edward about this, like, yeah, I'm here to bring my brother, and we're going to get on my pirate ship, and we're going to do pirate things together, like pirates do. And Edward's like, but you can't do that because my brother is in love with your brother, and it would, like, hurt him to see them separated. And then Jake's like, I don't care, it's just what has to happen. Because, you know, you got to have conflict in the story. And then Jacob has to take Embry away, and Jacob and Edward have, like, a little not quite standoff in an alleyway about why he needs to take Embry away. And then he's like, I have to show you something. And so Jacob takes Edward to his ship, who isn't docked at the docks. It's just, like, docked off somewhere, but it seems to still be close enough to town where they can walk there. So is it really far enough away to not be seen by authorities? Question mark.
I don't know. Everyone walked
too much logic into the story.
I know. I'm just, like, trying to, when I read these stories, I try to, like, have a mental map in my head of, like, how far away things are. But everything seemed to be within walking distance. Like, very close walking distance.
Yeah.
So Jacob takes Edward to his ship, and then Jacob's like, I'm not just a pirate, I'm this pirate. And then Edward's like, oh my gosh, you're that pirate. And the pirate ship that he has is associated with, like, a mythos of having vampires and werewolves on the ship. And then some of his crew members are running to the ship because they're going to leave, and they're werewolves, and they transform back into people. And then Edward's like, oh my god, werewolves are real. And then Edward and Jacob are, like, saying their goodbyes to each other. And then Embry comes out, and along with him is Emmett. And Embry and Emmett don't want to be separated because they're, what do they call it again?
Imprinted?
They're imprinted, and they don't want to be away from each other. And then Emmett goes, make me a vampire and let me join your crew so I can stay with Embry. And then Jacob's like, no, you can't do that. And then Emmett's like, I want to do that. And then Jacob's essentially like, okay, I guess you can do it. It was a very short disagreement. And then Edward was like, no, you can't do it. And then Emmett's like, I have to do it. And then Edward's like, yeah, I guess you have to do it. So there were like these no you can'ts that almost immediately became yes you can. And then so Emmett leaves with them in the ship, and then Jacob, before he leaves, he gives Edward this pendant, which is supposed to be good luck, and it's like this little wolf figurine. And then Edward's like, oh my god, I'm never gonna see you again. And then Jacob's like, here's this pendant. If you want to like be with me instead of being a Duke of Port Angeles, come to the tavern a year from today or something like that. And I'll be there and we can leave together. And
also,
so, yeah.
Edward is engaged to Bella at this moment.
Oh yeah, that's another thing that is kind of like a
It's like a non-issue
in the story, but yes, he is engaged to Isabella Swan. And so from there, they leave, and Edward wakes up the next day at home, and then he hears a commotion when he wakes up, and he's like, I don't remember what happened last night. And then he hears a commotion, and then his mom comes in, and she's like, have you seen your brother Emmett? And he's like, what? And she's like, your brother Emmett, he just disappeared. He didn't take any money or anything. He's just gone. And so Emmett, I mean, we know Emmett went off with that ship, but nobody else knew. And for whatever reason, Edward forgot everything that happened and who those people were.
Jacob made him forget. I think for some reason Jacob was able to compel Edward to forget what happened.
You think so?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's.
I mean,
what
I think there was like some magic there, but I don't know why he would do that.
I have no idea why, but
I wasn't sure what the why was, because he could just say that to him.
Yeah.
And then I was like, the day comes and he's like, okay, I guess I'm not happy with Isabella. I'm going to go to this tavern. I don't know. I mean, I kind of get why, but at the same time, why? Because I feel like he could have just remembered all of that and been fine. This is Edward we're talking about. The ultimate calm boy.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's, here we go. It says, Jacob put the wolf pendant up around Edward's neck, and the teen looked down to stare at it, only for Jacob to grab his chin and lift it so that their eyes were locked. Something in that gaze shifted, and Edward's eyes dilated as his mind suddenly went blank. 1 year from now, on this day, I'll come back. If you're happy with Isabella, then you won't remember any of this. But if you're not, then you're looking for adventure, go to Sue's Tavern at midnight, and I'll show you the world you so desperately want to see. So that was Jacob, like, I don't know.
Oh, so he, like, spelled him.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's okay. I don't know that was necessary.
You sounded disappointed.
Yeah, but for some reason.
No, I mean, it's definitely the reason. I was being sarcastic about the reason thing.
For some reason, Edward doesn't go back to the tavern a year later. Yeah. Even though he's clearly not happy with Isabella, so I don't know what.
We're getting ahead of ourselves, Poppy.
Sorry, but I'm just saying.
The logic is not sound.
Yeah.
So where were we? So we
wakes up.
We dissected the spell.
Yeah.
And then he wakes up. His brother Emmett's gone, and then Edward's like going about his life. And you kind of discover that his brother Jasper still remembers what happened, because Jasper will talk to Edward, be like, hey, Edward, do you know anything about werewolves or anything? Like trying to hint at him to see if he remembers anything. And then Edward's like, what are you talking about, man? And then later on, Jasper, he wants to join the army so that he doesn't have to be a duke anymore. And then Jasper, he tells his parents he wants to join the army. And then like 6 months later, he too runs away to get onto that pirate ship so that he can be with Seth. And so Edward's had his eldest brother run away. He had his other brother run away. And then Edward's just like living his life as a cog in the machine and training to become the next Duke of Port Angeles. And he marries Isabella. And then the story moves forward 3 years. and it's kind of told from a limited third person of Alice, which was kind of random. Alice is not a colon in this story. She is just a girl who can see into the future, and she's apparently been like watching everything going down with these people, almost like it's her soap opera. Which is kind of a fun way to like use what do they call that when you see into the future?
Fortune teller?
Yeah, to use like your psychic fortune teller abilities. So Alice is in the tavern watching her soap opera, and there's a specific day that Alice can't see, but she knows she needs to be at the tavern to see whatever is going to go down, because it's not showing up in her future sight, fortune telling, seeing the future abilities. And so Jacob's sitting down with some of his werewolf, pirate, vampire peeps, and then Edward comes in, but Edward doesn't know Jacob. He doesn't know who he is. He's still under the spell. He's married to Isabella. And then Edward goes up to the counter and sits next to Jacob, and they have like a little conversation. So Edward's like lying about how kind of sad his life has been for the last 3 or 4 years. And then Jacob goes, and this is a direct quote. The werewolf paused as Edward finished off his drink and asked for another. What if I told you that I knew why you felt so empty? Would you want to know why? How would you know that? I'm saying if I did know. Would you want me to tell you? The bronze-haired man frowned. Why wouldn't I want to know? Jacob raked a hand through his hair. It might change some things, make you see things differently. Nothing would ever be normal again. I think it'd be better to know the truth than live your life in some elaborate lie. Edward's eyebrows furrowed in confusion, and he leaned in a little closer to the other man in a deep frown marring his features. Are you sure we haven't met before? You seem so familiar. Jacob looked away and let out one last deep, heavy sigh as he finished off his drink before he slid off of his seat and grabbed a hold of Edward's shirt, to him close. Okay, that's just phrased weird. What? The younger man was cut off when Jacob suddenly kissed him, full and hard, right on the lips, causing Edward's eyes to go wide in shock. He let out a muffled yelp of surprise, only for those same green eyes to slip shut as Edward leaned into, wrapping his arms around Jacob to drag him even closer before they both had to break for air. Jacob? Edward gasped, and Jacob smirked. Ready to go on that adventure now? And then that's essentially the end of the story.
I want to apologize for the noise I just made. That was involuntary and not part of the story.
Is it because there were two boys making out?
No,
noise
actually,
of excitement.
it was because I've been drinking sparkling water.
So, that's the story. That's essentially Twilight in a nutshell. Oh, and I totally
not Twilight in a nutshell.
This is Twilight: A Pirate's Life for me in a nutshell. Fanfic. So that was it. It was only 16K, so it wasn't long, but a lot happened.
It was a lot.
Yeah,
a lot of things
in a short story
happened. They just happened. So, what are your guys' thoughts? What are your, initial thoughts after reading this?
I don't know. I thought that, Edward should have just left with Jacob at the beginning. And Jasper should have left with Seth, and they all should have just gotten on their gay vampire werewolf pirate ship.
Oh yeah.
And gone on their adventure.
I totally agree. And then the second part of the story was that actual adventure.
Yeah. The second part where Edward's just in the dark for most of it, I think was kind of silly.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the only thing I could think of while I was reading this was, I want to be on your gay werewolf vampire pirate ship.
Yeah, kind of the same thoughts for me. I liked kind of the premise, the idea, but there wasn't really any payoff for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You cannot introduce me to gay vampire werewolf pirates
and you don't get to experience it.
Yeah.
I know. I was really disappointed by that because I thought gay, hot guys, werewolves, vampires, pirate ship. How can this be wrong in any way? Like, this sounds like the recipe for a fun time.
Yeah.
And they kind of like took the least fun parts of it and put that into the story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Ollie?
No, I mean, like, I agree. Like, I feel like they did kind of cut out, like, the best part of the story would have been being on the pirate ship with all the werewolves. But we didn't really get much of that. I feel like they could do a really good spin-off if they, like, wanted to continue the story, but being on the pirate ship and doing all their little adventures. But there was a question I had for Jacob, because they said he's not just a werewolf, which I didn't understand. Like, they were saying he's like a shaman that can control vampires with
I'm thinking
magic.
I missed that.
No, yeah. No, that was definitely in the story. I mean, that wasn't like a huge, for the true fans that want to get into that part of it. I thought it was very irrelevant because you don't really see any vampire wrangling at all in the story.
Like, they put that in and then they didn't explain anything. And I'm like, I want to know more.
Yeah, like, why give us this information and then not have him wrangle vampires?
Yeah.
I mean, and just so everyone's aware, I didn't get into it with the recap of the story, but being a werewolf is hereditary. And then if werewolves get mates or imprints that become their mates and they're human, then they have them turned into vampires so they can live forever. So that's why everyone on the ship is like a werewolf or a vampire. So all the vampires are like lovers of werewolves. I don't know if there's any single vampires on the ship. It seemed like everyone was buddied up in some way, whether it was to another werewolf or a vampire. But it like Ollie said at one point in the story, there's like a point where you see Jacob, there's like a scene with Jacob out at sea, and he's kind of like thinking back to how old he is and how he's somewhat cursed, but not really, to not find happiness or something like that. And then that he has these like shaman powers to control vampires.
It's like, they like said something like he's cursed for like 100 years to not be with someone, but they didn't expand on that at all.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if like, well, then why did you give Edward that little like, hey man, if you wait a year and I'm back here, maybe we could be a thing.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So that was like, I feel like it could have been something cool, but it didn't create any conflict. It's just like it was just mentioned.
Or anything. It didn't create
anything. So that's kind of general thoughts. Any other like general comments first before we get into the plot? No.
No, let's
move on. Let's get into the plot of this story. Okay, so plot. What are your thoughts on plot? We kind of got into it a bit already because I feel like this story took all of the parts, and I'm going to be repeating myself like a broken record, all of the parts that could have happened in this story and took all of the boring ones and put them together. And then all of the interesting plot points just happened behind the scenes or were a nod to something or something else.
Yeah, I think they had all the best intentions and ideas.
Yeah.
But there was nothing, they didn't do anything with any of it, and there was no payoff for any of it, really.
Yeah, there wasn't really a payoff. Because you knew that Edward was eventually going to get on the boat. We were eventually going to get all of the Cullen boys on the vampire werewolf boat.
Pirate ship.
So the question was like how it was going to happen, but it seemed to happen in like the easiest way. Because it would have been interesting if the story started Emmett gets a baby. We already said that's like a weird scenario where a pirate guy just gives his 10-year-old kid a baby and says, go find Sue.
Here you go. I trust you.
Here you go, kid.
Child.
And then also at the beginning, they were just like listing off names like no one's business. And all of these names were like people of the Volturi. So I was really confused, but there were people in the Volturi that were on their side. And then there were people in the Volturi that were actual Volturi.
There was like, the Volturi was like a rival pirate ship or something.
I wasn't even sure what they were. I didn't even know what the Volturi was.
Someone was chasing them, but once again, it's not clear. They're never shown.
No.
And so it's like, I don't know what that was about.
They're just saying that so-and-so's been tracking me. And it's like, well, why? Yeah. Why are they tracking you?
Why?
And if they're tracking you, how come we never see them in this story? We just hear you talk about them occasionally. So, I don't even remember where I was going with that. Oh, okay. So if they had that situation, and then instead of following Emmett, they, like, follow Jacob and the Volturi, like, fighting it out, and then we go some odd years later, and Jacob's back. Maybe the story just would have been better from Jacob's perspective as a pirate captain.
This story would have been so much better if it was from Jacob's perspective.
Because I feel like that would have been, we would have been in the know about all the vampire werewolf stuff. Yeah. Instead of having to like rediscover it with the characters a couple times.
You could have heard like Jacob's like inner conflict with like falling in love with the human.
Yeah.
And, like leaving Embry and stuff like that. Like, that would have been cool.
And I feel like the romance, it seems so weird because the author was trying to give all these different characters an opportunity to shine, but that's difficult to do in a 16K story. Like, you really need to stick to one or two, like an A plot and a B plot. And this had like a couple things going on in between. Like the Jasper Seth thing. I don't know that needed to be there. The Emmett Embry thing almost kind of felt cheapened because it was the main romance up until Edward and Jacob, but you barely hear about it. Yeah, and you're not quite sure.
You never see them together.
Yeah, you never really see them together, and you're not quite sure how that connect. I mean, I know the connection's hormones, but I'd like it to be like there's some sort of incident that sparks their feelings for each other, or have us know, like, not everything, but what that moment was that transitioned them to friends who really care about each other to lovers. Like, what was that instance? Or how do they interact with each other? Because I don't even think we saw, did Embry have any lines?
No.
No, I think he had one line.
Did he, like, barely say anything when they were getting on the boat?
Yeah, he had one line to Jacob that was like, I love him.
Yeah.
Like, right.
He's like a Disney princess or something. So I thought that was weird. And then if Edward and Jacob are the main romance, how is their connection built? Because I feel like Jacob's flirting was one-sided. And I feel like Edward wasn't like hot and bothered enough by their interactions.
Oh, he was blushing.
I mean, he was blushing, but I don't know. It almost just felt like it was awkwardness, not attraction.
Yeah.
Between them. I mean, when they were getting it on in the alley, I think that was like the most chemistry I found between them. But it didn't. What?
I thought they were in the woods.
I thought they were in an alley and then they went to the woods.
Oh.
Because Seth and Jasper walked by him, or somebody walked by them.
Right.
Oh, no. It was somebody from Jacob's ship walked by them.
Oh.
And then Jacob's like, you're not a real man. And then Edward's like, I'm a real man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a real man.
No, you wait just a second there, Mr. I'm a real man.
Yeah. what did you guys think of how the author handled Edward forgetting things as a plot point?
I didn't like it. I didn't think
why?
That it should have been there. I think because I said so already. Edward should have just been on ship before all of this. Like if this, like
hashtag not my pirate's life for me.
Hashtag not my gay vampire werewolf pirate. No, he should have just been on the ship. He shouldn't have forgotten. But like, I don't know. The fact that he did forget is like, I don't know, whatever. But it just doesn't. It didn't make sense with the spell that Jacob put on him.
Yeah,
He would have still forgotten to go back a year later.
Because he didn't end up going back until like 3 or 4 years later.
4 years later.
So
it's like,
I wonder why is the idea that, because I know that they wrote a little bit that he was happily married to Isabella for a bit and then things kind of took a turn. Was it just that he had to be unhappy with his marriage before he was compelled to go to that bar?
I don't know.
But that seemed weird that this was an instance where the author specifically made a rule.
Yeah.
Instead of just referencing something that was supposed to pay off.
And they immediately broke the rule.
And they immediately broke it right after. And then you don't really get a payoff because Edward doesn't remember anything. So that whole conversation between Edward and Jacob, Edward doesn't understand the conversation.
Yeah.
So what right does Jacob have to kiss him and make him remember?
Yeah.
It's almost like it's not consensual at that point.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah. But, I mean, he kissed him and everything was fine.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
Yeah,
don't know.
no, I'm with you.
Yeah.
It seemed a little odd. Were there any other plot things that you wanted to go over?
I mean, there wasn't much of a plot really happening.
Wasn't. It was the story, all the bits that we saw were the absence of a plot.
Yes.
All the in-betweens of a plot. This was like one of those, you know when you watch anime and it's like right after the main story happens and they have a filler episode?
Yes, that's
this
what
was
this
the
felt
filler
like.
episode.
Exactly.
I was going to say, you know, when movies do montages, it's like, this is the stuff that was happening in the montage.
Yeah, in the montage. Yeah.
Should have been skipping over.
All right, so let's move on to characters. These characters were
Very different.
very OOC
Yeah.
to me.
Yes.
I thought that in this story, you know how I always say Jacob's really pushy?
Huh?
Yeah.
He was not pushy in this story.
To his detriment, he was not pushy.
To his detriment, he was not pushy, which I thought was interesting.
He was pushy getting Embry back on the ship. That's it.
But he let Emmett come with him.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh yeah, okay, you can bring your boy with you.
He wasn't like, he like let Edward, like, things were on Edward's terms instead of on Jacob's terms.
Yeah, like the first, I mean, he flirted with Edward to make him aware that, like, I find you attractive, but he left it up to Edward to push that, which was interesting. And Edward, I feel like he was kind of a Bella.
Yeah, Edward.
That's what I was thinking.
He was very
brutal.
He was very flustered and blushed a lot. And yeah, he was Bella. That's
he was essentially
awkward,
a Bella.
blushing Bella.
And I feel like Edward, like the real Edward, would be more analytical and connect the dots a lot better.
Yeah.
Than this Edward did. This Edward just like a Bella, he was just kind of like floating around. Like, yeah. At
the same time, the Edward we all know is a vampire, and this Edward is not. So
true. This is baby Edward. This is
who knows
an old
what
man Edward.
He
He was probably a pushover when he was a kid. So I guess, yeah, that kind of makes sense. And then his brothers, Emmett and Jasper. Emmett had no personality other than the fact that he didn't want to be a fancy boy. He just wanted to be all rough and tumble and do his own thing. Like,
Just
that
pretty
was...
in character, I want to say.
Yeah, I feel like that's Emmett. Like, Emmett doesn't have much of a presence in the Twilight series, so there's more room to mess around with him. And then what were your guys' thoughts on Jasper? Because he just seemed like a guy.
And he was like a nothing character.
Yeah.
He's kind of relevant in the story. He just wasn't like there was no importance to him. Yeah. Same thing with like Emmett. Like Emmett had his like beginning part of like where he played a role, but then the character just kind of fell off a little bit.
Yeah. It would have been better if the author just focused on one romance to really develop it. So I think that covers characters for us, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And then let's move on to the writing.
Okay, here's my thing.
Here we go.
I mentioned that I have a tally.
Yes, the tally.
So I have a tally of every single time Edward was called the bronze-haired teen or the bronze-haired man.
Oh no.
I know they said that a lot.
After like the third time, I was like, oh my god, how often can they be called? So I started writing it down. Then I didn't keep a tally of this, but he kept being called the teen during like Edward and Jacob's like makeout session, and I'm like, stop doing that.
Yes.
It makes me wildly uncomfortable. Please stop.
I know that someone might say, well, it's because they're both men, so if you said he and he over and over again, you wouldn't know who exactly they're talking about. But I feel like there's better ways to break that
Better
out.
ways.
There's definitely better ways. I've seen it done. It is possible, authors. Trust me.
And I also say that it's a very fan fiction thing to call a person by, like, a descriptor instead of, like, just saying he or, like, calling them by their name. Like, it's a very fan fiction to say the bronze-haired teen or, like, the dark-haired man or something like that, you know? Like,
yeah.
Unless, like, they don't know who you are.
Yeah, totally.
They're not going to describe, like, oh, here's my best friend, Jessica, the blonde-haired girl is... It's like, no, like, that's not how authors describe things. It's only in fan fiction that this happens.
Well, I think the problem is that some fan fiction authors started doing that, and then the fan fiction writers of today read the fan fiction of the previous generation of fan fiction writers, so it just perpetuates the issue of them addressing things like that. Because I remember reading Naruto fanfic, and they'd always refer to Sasuke as the raven-haired teen or something like that. Do you remember that, Ollie?
I just got
They always refer to him as the raven-haired teen or the raven-haired man or the raven-haired renegade or whatever.
And they kept describing Jacob as having russet skin. I don't know if you noticed that. I know, that's
like the only descriptor for Native American men is russet skin.
I'm like, you mean like the potato? Like, what's happening?
And also,
the color of a russet potato.
I would describe Taylor Lautner as a lot of things. Russet is not one of them.
No.
There's different shades of brown that you can use.
Russet implies that it's a more red, like, sunburned skin.
Yeah.
Which maybe he is. Maybe because he's a pirate.
Maybe.
I don't know. But I think in the Twilight book they described his skin as russet toned as well. What? I mean, I know that's a descriptor they use to describe Native American skin tones. Because it's a reddish brown color.
Yeah. And in the Twilight books they have to say brown hair.
Taylor Lautner in the brain instead of, making a russet-haired or russet-skinned person in my brain, it gave me Taylor Lautner's face.
Oh my goodness. So there's a Yahoo Answers thing.
Uh-oh.
I was just looking this up.
Oh no.
Is Jacob Black's skin russet in Twilight the book? I've been reading more about Jacob Black on Wikipedia, and it said in the book his skin was russet brown. Do they mean that his wolf color is russet? Or do they mean that his human skin was russet? Or both?
Huh.
And then answers are... His skin tone is that color because Native American, not because of him being a wolf. As a human, his skin is brown russet. He's a Quilidi. I don't think I've heard them described that way before. Something like that. Oh, they just spelled Quilly wrong. Okay. I was like, what is this?
Oh no.
Quilidi, that's not the right term. Okay. Indian, so that's why his skin is that color. His wolf color is a chocolate brown.
Russet is an actual color, and I didn't know that. I thought
yeah,
I thought that it was just like the potato, and I was like, "How? That's a really mean thing to call somebody."
Well, I mean, the russet potatoes are like a reddish brown, aren't they? Aren't they like a brown?
They're just they're brown. They're not red. They're brown. They're just brown.
But I mean, it's a reddish brown, so however it skews,
yeah, I guess.
is whatever. But yeah, I always think of russet as just being like a rougher, sun-kissed, warm brown.
Yes, it is.
Which would I guess fit for a Native American pirate.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know if it fits in Twilight, but it fits for a Native American pirate. Because I feel like Native Americans on the West Coast don't get the sun exposure that the ones on the East Coast or in the South would.
Well, that's true.
So Native Americans up here, their skin would not be sunburned in any way, shape, or form.
We're more rain people. Yeah.
Yes. Rain and clouds.
Which we could use some of right now.
We could use all the rain we can get. Yeah. Give us the good air quality, please. I want to run again. Okay. So how easy or difficult was the writing to follow while you were reading the story? Were there things that you were stuck on either because they were written weird or because of spelling or punctuation or any of that? I had an all right time reading this book.
Yeah, I mean, it was fine.
It was fine, but it just lost my interest. Like halfway through, I got up and made a sandwich. Like I was like, all right.
Yeah, and it's because you don't feel a connection to anyone or anything, because it's all those moments in between that writers usually skip. It's like I can just stop reading this at any time because this is the space between something interesting happening. And you keep thinking, like, maybe something interesting will happen, but it doesn't. Which makes me crazy, because this was sexy werewolf vampires on a pirate ship.
Yeah.
Inspired by Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
Which had a lot of potential.
Which had so much potential.
Yeah. Once again, I want to be on your gay werewolf vampire pirate ship.
I want to be there too.
Get your act together. We need more than this.
Yeah. Somebody needs to take this and make it into its final form of what it could be.
Yeah.
Because this is a great premise. Do you guys read Pirate AU stuff at all?
No.
Not really.
I always enjoy a good Pirate AU. I have one right now that someone on Twitter sent me, and it is a Spock Kirk Star Trek pirate AU.
Oh my god.
Okay.
Which I was like, well, because I just started watching the original Star Trek series.
Really?
Yeah, my mom was like, "You haven't seen this?" I was like, "No, I haven't."
Well,
and so,
what did I do?
So I know I'm so late to the game. So
that's apparently where the gay fan fiction started, was with Spock and Kirk.
They have so much sexual tension between them. I'm just waiting for them to make out on the bridge. Like, it's insane, guys. If you watch it, Kirk, are you and Spock, like, secretly a thing?
Bet
Yeah.
they were.
But of course, I'm a fanfic girl, so I'm looking for sexual tension between characters in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And then our last thing is, how well did they stick to the fandom? They
did not.
didn't.
They didn't.
I think the only thing they stuck to the fandom with is character names.
Port
The fact
Angeles.
that they were Port Angeles. Hey, reppin' Port Angeles. And the fact that there were vampires and werewolves.
Even that, they lived in Port Angeles. They didn't live in Forks.
Well, technically,
Well,
they were in
there had to
Italy.
be water. There had to be a body of water for the ship.
Forks is not far from water. We've been there. We know.
Well, I mean, it's not far from water on that side, but it's not like a port town or anything.
I don't know. You could pull a pirate ship up to La Push. They didn't stick to the fandom. Like, they lived in Port Angeles and not Forks. Like,
And then the other thing is, they wouldn't be able to walk everywhere if they lived in Forks, because you can't just walk to La Push. Wasn't that like a 30-minute drive or something for us?
I don't even remember.
But it's not close enough to walk like they did back in the pirate days.
But this was like the 1800s. Like, everyone walked everywhere.
Yeah, everyone just walked down to La Push on a daily basis. I mean, it's an AU. And then our last thing is, were there any other, like, questions or things that reading this story sparked for you?
No.
Not really.
I think we talked over a lot.
Yeah.
We talked a lot. Are you guys on the story page?
Yes. I just got to the
Did you go down to the comments? Let's read some of the comments. Let's see what the people had to say about this one. Okay. Aria _Masteron 1153 said, "Wow, this is so creative and amazing. I love the portrayal of Jacob, wise, yet he still retains some of that childish nature that we have come to love in him. I found this work and fandom by accident, but I'm so glad because this work was amazing. Really thoughtful, well done. Also, how am I the first comment? This was so well done. You set up the epilogue beautifully. Can't wait to read the next part."
So it looks like all of these were done before Chapter 2 was added.
Oh, interesting.
All of the comments.
Okay.
A lot of them are asking for Chapter 2.
I saw that's why I read the first one, because everyone's like, this one person, Julia Kaze, ooh, someone's a Naruto fan probably. Looking forward to the epilogue, ... Really interesting take, ... Such a lack of good Jakeward, which is the couple name for Jacob and Edward.
Oh. Well, what the heck's a Jakeward?
Which is the best. I feel like that's one of the best couple names on the fanfiction internet.
That's great. That's great.
I think it's great. What are some other words?
There's an author comment.
Yeah, I saw that she responded to one of them. I'm amazed at how happy these people were with the story.
I mean, it was 2016.
Yeah, these people sound pretty young.
Yeah, maybe. Rhea said, "How did someone get a username that short?"
Because Archive of Our Own was invite only for a long time.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Aren't they still invite only?
They are, but
don't they
the
face
invite,
people?
there's like 1,000 invite codes now.
Oh, okay. Rhea said, "Hi, I love your stories. They're truly unique, especially the Twilight ones. They're one of a kind. I was wondering if you would do a Quill and Alice pairing. I think they would be cute. Anyway, keep on writing. You're amazing." Cool.
Oh, nice comment.
If you go to chapter 2, there are comments for the whole story.
Oh!
No, I have
Hi.
all of them. I was just going through the chapter 1 ones. Does Light Bright Hybrid?
Oh yeah.
That's the first one on chapter 2.
Huh.
Light Bright Hybrid, too cute. I was a little worried there. Nawal Kim said, OMG, this fic is perfect. I've been hooked right from the start with Emmett's story. He fell in love at first sight. How cute is that with the 4-year-old? And it got better. I love how you wrote all of them, the way they met, their dynamics. Love how wolves and vampires work together. Love the immediate chemistry between Seth and Jasper. And of course, Edward and Jacob. I really like the second chapter being told from Alice's perspective. By the way, is this the epilogue or is there another one coming? I really enjoyed reading this beautiful fic, but the end left me a bit hungry for more. Winky face. Anyway, thank you for an amazing journey. Yeah, this got some really good reception.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a horrible story. It's just
boring.
It's just kind of boring. Maybe this is for people who they already like Jakeward or these other couples and they're just happy to see them represented. Maybe that's what it is. Like they already have those relationships developed in their mind, so this author didn't have to actually flesh them out. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Probably. Yeah. Well, I'm glad that the people that read it enjoyed it. I'm interested if the final author note for the story from the author is, I'm going to put up a short sort of epilogue next, like 8 years later or something like that, but this story is essentially done. Please review. And this story came out back in 2016. And it was completed in 2017.
Yeah, so I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah. So, we'll see. It's 2020 now, so... Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess let's give this story our rating. Did the comments make you feel a bit better about your rating on this?
I feel bad. Now I feel like I'm bullying a child.
We are bullying children. We're reviewing fanfic. We're probably older than all these people who wrote these stories.
Not a guarantee. Not a guarantee, but probably.
Yeah. I'd give it 2.5 sparkles out of 5. It's like, I don't know, the concept was good, but I was bored.
All right. I would give this story 1.5 sparkles out of 5.
Right.
I will give it 1 full sparkle for the concept and a half sparkle for the Jakeward couple name.
Okay, I'll go. I am also going to give it a 1.5. The concept was great. I got real excited about the concept, but it just didn't quite get there.
Yeah.
I think with a revisit, this would be really, really good. But it didn't hit that mark.
Yeah. So. Yeah, I feel like... Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was just going to say, I feel like if they just switched the scenes, if they just switched to the in-between scenes, it would have been at least a 3 for me. Like the points where Jacob was on the ship and all that. If it was just like boat adventures, it would have been at least a 3.
The boat boys.
Boat boys.
The boat boys.
Alright, Ollie, what's your rating?
So I feel like I'll give it 2 sparkles. I agree with you all. I thought there was a great concept. I thought there was a lot of potential. but I feel like the character development was a bit weak, and the ending was kind of unimpressive. But I liked the setting being like maybe late 1800s in Italy, and the Jacob
it takes place in Port Angeles, Ollie.
No, it said Port Angeles, Italy.
What?
It did?
Yes.
What? Yeah, it did. It
it's
did.
In Port Angeles, Italy?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hence Missouri.
How did we miss that? Where does it say Port Angeles, Italy?
It said Port Angeles, Italy, and I proceeded to ignore it.
Oh.
Where does it say Port Angeles, Italy?
We only docked in Italy for 2 hours for supplies. No, I think that they
Are we good?
I think they were in Italy before.
Where is this?
I'm so confused.
Where does it say that?
Let me search, because I swear I read it, and not crazy.
Can you control F on a web page?
It only mentions Italy one time. And
they had Dimitri tracking for them. The woman said she shot him a glare. Darn it, Paul, what did you do to him? Paul stuttered before he almost screeched. Nothing, we only docked in Italy for 2 hours for supplies. I didn't even say a word to that parasite. How should I know what his damage is? Well, Paul is definitely still Paul.
Yeah. Okay.
That's something Paul would say.
Yeah, Ollie, I also got from that.
Yeah,
my brain
that they're
said, no, this is Italy. And I was like, okay, this is a little better than,
So there's not in Italy.
This does not take place in Italy.
That takes away its sparkle.
No.
The whole scene has changed in my head.
It would have been even weirder if it was in Italy, because why would they have a Port Angeles, Italy?
Yes. Okay, well, I'm going to give it a 1.5 sparkle now. For specifically not being in Italy.
Thank you for listening to the Fanfiction Book Club. Our pick this week was A Pirate's Life for Me by Frankie Quinn 13. You can find this story and more of the author's work on archiveofourown.org. Theme song is Funkorama by Kevin MacLeod. You can find more of Kevin's music on incompetech.filmmusic.io/artist/Kevin-MacLeod. The works discussed on the Fanfiction Book Club are not our own. All characters mentioned belong to their original authors. Until next week, bye!